Hey, what's going on? It's Jeremy back with another video. It's been a minute, so I hope everybody's doing well. I've been hanging in there. Been doing a lot of stuff. Been working. I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what that is on my. It's nothing on my head. I think that's just the camera. So I'll fix. Maybe if I use it a little bit more, right? If I was on here, that wouldn't be going on. But yeah, just a lot of work, a lot of adulting. So I haven't been able to do like the live streams. I have, however, been taking positions, working through some things. So kind of gonna do a recap. I'm gonna change the thumbnail for this week too. So I don't know. We'll see. So a couple things, just right off the top, we just talk about. Take this from the daily and look back through. Excuse me, this week, and subsequently look into maybe what we could look for next week. Right. So obviously this is Friday. Yeah. So for this week, we actually had a Wednesday high of the week, designated basically just by this week. So one of the things that I'm notorious for, I guess I could say at this point, in the outlooks and in the recaps, is that I always like to look at the weekly profile, even after, because sometimes it'll tip a hand, it'll show you. So if you guys remember, I don't know if it was last week or maybe the week before. I would like to think that it was last week. Did I do a recap last week? I did. I did do a recap last week. So one of the things that I was talking about initially was that we potentially could be looking at, and I don't think that it was this way. We were looking at basically like a volume imbalance. It wasn't last week. I'm sorry. It was a week before. But even coming into this week, right? So we basically had Friday here, and then Monday kind of gapped up. Now, it didn't mean that we had to come back and revisit this. That's bothering me because I remember talking about a volume imbalance on on a daily, and I can't remember what it was. But needless to say, we'll just kind of keep moving. So yeah, so Monday basically gapped up. It allowed us to have basically a volume imbalance here. It didn't necessarily mean that price was going to move back in there, but understanding and looking at how the week would set up, might give you a hint. So obviously Monday closes, here's Tuesday, and then Wednesday, just by a wick, when Wednesday opens, you get the high of the week at that point, and then the subsequent sell-off. So completely engulf Tuesday, close back under and through Monday, and we've painted short this volume imbalance. But obviously we want what? We're probably going to want participation from the other side. So at some point, we obviously are going to be looking for a bullish price to come back and paint or cover this area off. Interestingly enough, between Wednesday and Thursday, we also are presented here with another volume imbalance. And again, just really quick, anybody that says, well, that's not really a volume imbalance, you see how these candles open to close come basically, what would be considered in builders and carpentry terms is butt thickness, and we're not talking about BBLs here. So it's basically when the candles are basically in sequence, or there's no gap. Okay, minimum butt thickness. Don't worry about me. I obviously had to work today and was talking about building and carpentry and things. And no, I'm not a carpenter, but just know a little something about little something. Anywho's, so this is a volume imbalance, no different than this is. Some would call this a price void. It could be whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it a volume imbalance. But it is a price void where price just moves that way. But it's a gap nonetheless that would have to be filled. So in the move back down to fill this void, we end up with the volume imbalance here. And then we just basically have one-sided or bearish delivery all the way back. Now, what we have not done is we haven't taken out this low as of yet. So this was basically the weekly profile, which gave us, again, a Wednesday high of the week. Friday expanded to complete a move back short. I know economic news and data wasn't overly happy and supportive. Some policy decisions, stances, and whatever else you want to factor into that, kind of playing into the narrative of bearish price. And I say playing into because the technicals don't really lie. So having said that, what would I potentially be looking to see happen this upcoming week? For that, I'm going to pan out just a little bit. But before I do that, what my initial expectation is to see maybe an intermediary continuation short before longs. But here's something just to kind of point your eye to. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to happen. It's just something that I was looking at, saying to myself, okay, what's the likelihood? What's the probability? What's the expectation of how price could play? Well, one of the things I was looking at is this area right here. And I was saying to myself, okay, would it make sense, right? If we're just looking at the overall structure, right? These longs, right? And then basically a retracement and then a continuation long. So you could look at this structural narrative here where we have a break above. I just realized I could actually put something on the chart. You could see it. So from this high, basically you had a low here, you had a high, you had a lower low that was put in, and you had basically a structure shift here, right? And based upon this, we had this move back inside, which, depending on your understanding, what you see or how you view price, if for whatever reason you were looking at this saying, okay, well, would you consider that an order block? Whatever structural bias, right, that you could play into that. You could say, okay, well, it comes back into an area which could be reflective of an order block, and then it expands away. Well, I'm looking at this level now, and I'm simply saying, okay, well, could that also be viewed similarly here? If we just take the last down structurally and look at what would be the likelihood, right? What's that likelihood? Well, we're there in terms of a mean threshold, but what we haven't done, if you're just looking at it from this perspective, what we have not done is take this low. Now, I don't look at order blocks like I look at fair value, although you can interlink those things, or you can keep them separate entities. So what I mean by that is you could treat this low inside this area or this order block to this mean threshold area. Would I consider that like a low? Because when I talk about fair value, when I talk about highs or lows in areas of fair value, I always say that they're ripe to be run at some point, like run through. So this more or less would just be an instance where, and I'll zoom back in so you can see a little bit better. This is an instance where the simple run below this low is merely for the sake of gathering and acquiring liquidity. And that's it. So it could literally just be enough to either sweep out or soup or whatever you want to call, or run the liquidity short, maybe stay within the confines. If indeed this is respected as an order block, it can sweep or it can run it, and then we could be looking for longs. Or the other aspect in how this could be played could be that if you are looking at this as a daily order block, we could basically run the order block, okay, clear this, render it basically invalid for a deeper retracement short, and then come back. We'd have to reclaim it, okay, if you understand or you believe in the concept and the philosophy behind invalidated and reclaimed order blocks. We'd have to come back up, reclaim it, reestablish it, tap back, trade back into it, and then move away. So I'm more of a, until you show me that that's what you're doing, I'm going to assume that's not what we're doing. So the simplistic approach of this week would be just quite simply, once we look at this again, just pulling it across, if we treat that as the order block that's going to uphold and hold price because it has done so, right? We're back down here again for the third time. We've got a body closure now through mean threshold. So it could very well be the case where, again, we could see a short-term intermediary low or continuation short to take out this low, and then a resumption long, and then you're going to see some kind of a structure shift in here, which will promote and allow potentially price to move higher. So that would essentially be, and I can actually get rid of that. That would kind of just be my narrative moving forward. But I would be remiss if I didn't say again that there's a part of me again that's leaning probably maybe, and price will do better than what I can say. It's going to show us. I'd be looking to see if we don't take this out and we don't see a bit more shorts put in before ultimately longs resume. So I'd like to be on the long side at some point. I'd like to see longs kind of funnel and trickle back in, because I don't really see the sky falling scenario just yet. There's another, I have to wait until we could do a live stream, and then that's something that I would love to actually get into and discuss a little bit further, because I'm not a doom and gloom and apocalypse kind of guy. However, I will say I wouldn't be genuine if I didn't say that there is a legitimate cause for concern around how the markets are going to interpret information, again, policy, processes, and our interaction with those that have been friends and allies for a long time, as opposed to how they and those types of relationships are being strained and eliminated. So you're going to see market fluctuations, because the one thing that some people don't factor in, and because we're speculators in these markets, I'm a technical guy, and I've always said, like, I like to believe, well, I don't like to, I believe in the technical delivery of price. I don't support a whole lot of fundamental and the sentiment. However, this is where the technical and the sentiment kind of come together. Like, this is the perfect storm where all the technicals in the world are going to indicate one thing, but because of the fundamentals, or the fundamental foundation of how we arrive at the technical, if that happens to be a relationship with another country or an alliance with a particular country, well, the technicals go out of the window, and then the sentiment isn't really necessarily anything that's artificial. It then becomes real, because that relationship or that alliance, that key pillar of the foundation for the technical analysis, has been shuttered. So now my technical is not what I see. So that's one of the reasons why, before anybody tries to flame me in the comments or say, well, you always said that you were a technical guy, why do you care about fundamentals and sentiment now? I'm explaining to you. If there's if there's some sort of a market share or cap in relationship to alliances, contractual agreements, what have you, that are no longer in place, technical out the window. And at that point, your reliance is just going to be, what are your levels, right? What are the things that you're looking at that validate or invalidate your positions? How far does, the market move from whatever those particular levels are for you before you realize, hey, look, I gotta be hands off and just stop, right? So, like I said, those would be the things that I would be looking forward to this upcoming week. Speaking of this upcoming week, let's see what we've got on the agenda. I know my head's in the way, so you guys are gonna have to just trust me. Let's see. I have to just not. I'm literally saying to myself, and I'm saying to you, I have to stop reading everything that you see behind me in red, and now I just literally can't stop reading it because it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So sorry, I'm sorry, and I do have to apologize because that wasn't really yeah. So all right. So next week, economic news. Monday, we don't really have anything here. We have Chicago PMI at 9:45. So it's not a red folder news item. It's something to be mindful of. Excuse me. It's something to be mindful of, but it's not. As I said, it's not red folder news. We also have basically at 11:30. Let's see. 11:30 is going to be the 6-month bill, and that's a high yield bill to cover. That is that. On Tuesday, we actually have jolts, I believe. Yeah. So on Tuesday, 9:45, we've got U.S. manufacturing PMI, and then at 10 a.m. we have the jolts opening, and we also have manufacturing PMI. I did just say that. So you have the S&P manufacturing final number at 9:45 PMI, and then you have ISM manufacturing PMI at 10 with jolts. So that's the big economic news on Tuesday. Wednesday this week, we actually have ADP. That'll be at 8:15. Again, at 8:15 ADP, not 8:30. So just be mindful. And I like to share that because if you happen to be one of the people that like to take positions pre-New York, just make sure that you're out of that position unless you plan to hold by at least 8 o'clock. Okay, so that is that's ADP on Wednesday. Thursday, we have what we typically have on most Thursdays. Uh, we're gonna have basically trade balance. It'll be a little different this week because this Thursday we'll actually have the Canadian trade balance and the U.S. trade balance at 8:30 in conjunction with initial jobless claims and continued jobless claims, as well as S&P service and composite PMI at 9:45. So all that means, unless you're YOLOing something or your conviction is just so strong that everything is being hedged on the trade that you're in and you're going to hold through all of this news, I wouldn't be touching anything until after at minimum like 10:30, 11, and then if not by then, maybe Thursday afternoon. That's a lot of economic news back to back, and guaranteed probably Wednesday night or prior to the trade balance being released is probably going to be something that's going to be said that may trigger that a little bit further. And speaking of speaking, I need to go back for a second. So on Wednesday at 4:30, Kugler from the Fed Reserve speaks. In addition, on Thursday, which is somewhat important, as I said, to wait until Thursday afternoon. And the other reason why I said if you're not in something by 11, like 10:30, 11, to get out, don't hold. Jefferson from the Fed Reserve, Jefferson speaks at 12:30, and then Cook from Federal Reserve speaks at 2:30 p.m. So just again, some things just to be mindful of. Friday, we're going to have non-farm payroll because it will be the 4th of April. So we start a new month next week. So just be mindful of that. Obviously, that's going to be at 8:30. You also have U.S. unemployment rate is going to also drop at 8:30, as well as Canadian unemployment and U.S. average earnings, which should be very interesting to see for a number of reasons, but that'll be interesting. Fed Chair Powell actually also speaks on Friday at 11:25 a.m. The Fed's Barr at 12, and Waller from the Fed speak at 12:45. So a lot of jibber jabber and talk on Friday. And obviously that's going to be coming on the heels of, and as you could see, like all of the economic news next week. So you've got ADP, you've got PMI, you've got JOLTS, you got non-farm payroll. And that's why I said it would be very interesting to see what the U.S. Average earnings is going to be in addition to non-farm payroll. So Powell's going to speak after that. And I'm interested to hear what his thoughts are just based on the data. As he always likes to say, we have to wait for the data to come out so we could review, and then we could formulate whether or not we hold, or, anybody that's watched him enough, you already know what that song and dance is, and what and how he positions how they're going to move forward with policy, whether they're cutting rates, holding firm, whatever it is. So I think it's going to be really interesting to hear what his take on what the numbers will reveal, and then ultimately, not disparaging in any way, but I'm interested more about what Fed Reserve member Barr has to say rather than Waller. Not for any political reason. I'm just more interested because Barr, it seems, in my opinion, seems a little bit grounded in terms of expectation, realistic expectation, and what would be a positive outlook on data as it's presented, and what could be done, rather than the entire speculative, we don't know, it could be. That's me paraphrasing Waller. But that is, as they say, that account wise, down in the XFA, although it is still alive and kicking. So Thursday completed another day of 200 plus. So once we dig out of the hole in the XFA, we'll be able to take a payout. And I would like to say, like, next week, probably will go into, and this is going to surprise a lot of people. You probably fall out of your chair when I say this. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get out of here. We're about 23 minutes. So this is the longest recap and whatnot I've done in a minute. But I'm going to temporarily move to micro contracts in the XFA. And as far as the practice account, I'm going to continue to use minis. But I've been doing a lot more Fib work lately, and I've been doing it off of a lower time frame. I've been using like a 1 minute time frame, just referencing the daily. So I'm going to continue doing that. So if and when I'm able to get back into the live streams and we talk, don't be surprised if you see me on micro NASDAQ and not regular NASDAQ, and I'm using micro contracts. So because I'm in drawdown in my XFA, my punishment for myself was, you ready for this? And this is a no BS. This is no bullshit. I punished myself for not being patient. So I dropped down into micros, and I'm only allowing myself to use one micro contract. So this past Thursday, and y'all would be like, it's going to blow your mind because it actually happened. I made, like $200. It was like $202, right? Well, that was with one micro contract. So if you do the math behind it, that in a mini would have been $2,000. Just hold on to that thought for a minute. So you could say, well, how does that make sense? And why would you punish yourself that way? Because, patience is key, and it's important. And it's one of the reasons why in this time around, I still have the XFA. It's still live. It's more than 2 cents available. So, Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to do that, and maybe I'll do it through this upcoming week with all the economic news. So if I do see something and I'm patient enough to wait for it, we're not barbecue chicken. So yeah, that's going to do it. Tomorrow probably not live. I'll tell you guys that right now. Probably will not be live. Also, I think I previously said this as well. We're not really going to be looking to take any positions in Globex moving forward. It seems like the New York sessions, whether it be pre-post New York Open as well as the PM session, even London is going to be more primed for our positions. So if I do a live during like Globex, expect it to be in a practice account as I had been, previously doing, or, we're doing some kind of back test, forward test, whatever have you, to just kind of refine that. So yeah, just kind of want to set that expectation going forward. And obviously, be looking to try to get back into more lives. I miss you guys. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the follows, the subscribes, the new subscribers that are coming in. I think I picked up a couple more, and I haven't been doing a live. So I really, 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 really appreciate you guys. Still going to do something. We get to 250 no matter whether the live streams are back flowing the way they were before, or I'm still kind of doing videos like this. Either way, I will, and I promise you, I give you my word, we'll set up a live to make sure we do a giveaway at 250 subscribers one way or another. And I'm still going to let you guys decide, just based on some of the things that I come up with, what that winner or winners, plural, will receive. So that being said, we'll wrap this here. Still within 30 minutes, which is good for me. Chat Oramus. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. I'll let you know in the community tab when we'll be back live. So I appreciate it. You guys take care. Be safe this weekend. Have a good weekend. Be profitable. And I'll see you next time. Take care.